Welcome to the Modern Mommy Doc Podcast. I'm Dr. Whitney Caceres. I'm a full-time pediatrician and a full-time modern mom. I speak and write about equipping mamas to raise resilient, healthy children and to invest in their own social emotional health along the way. Each week, we'll give you the practical tools you need to win at parenting without losing yourself. On the podcast this week, we're welcoming Jessi Duley. She's a powerhouse businesswoman and a mom of three. Her efforts on her Pacific Northwest indoor cycling studio, Burn Cycle, have made her an award-winning entrepreneur. But she's learned so much more along the way about herself and about how to find the real joy in the journey, deciding it's not about the load, it's about how you carry it. Listen in as she shares her wisdom and her story. Okay, you guys, it is my extreme pleasure to welcome Jessi Duley. She is the founder of Burn Cycle here in Portland. And she has just this amazing story and amazing community that she has built. Jessi, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I would love it if you would share with listeners what your story was with Burn Cycle and how that intersected with your motherhood journey.
Yeah, intersected feels like a really clean term, I would say. Maybe an implosion of how it all happened. So I decided to start a business in 2013 and then conveniently found out I was pregnant at the same time. I had already sort of taken the steps, couldn't really turn back. And so it ended up that I opened my first studio just a couple weeks after having my first child. So zero confidence in either as a business owner or as a mother. I think in the long run, I would never recommend this for anyone. But for me, I didn't know any different, but it was probably one of the most invaluable things that has ever happened to my personal well-being and professional career. I think a huge part of why Burn Cycle is the way that it is because of that journey. So we open our doors and I just had a baby. And so I'm 52 pounds heavier than I'd ever been in my life, which, when you get pregnant, you're just like, oh, cool. I've been trying really hard to look a certain way for half.
Yes.
And now I'm just supposed to be okay with it. Okay, cool. This isn't a total, all right, we're fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. Okay, so, I was 52 pounds heavier than I'd ever been. And I am trying to sell fitness and I couldn't physically do the physical fitness I was trying to sell my city. And so while I'm human, because I just had a baby, it was humiliating. I was humiliated. I couldn't do this thing. And it was so fascinating because I think a lot of people in my particular industry are probably really fit and parlay that into, they like working out. They are sort of fitness centric people and then parlay that into a career. And I was a producer before this and just totally burnt out and wanted to do something more passion driven. And then I had to start it in this position where I was so uncomfortable with kind of every part of who I am, with no confidence, as a business, a mother, I got to keep a human alive. And now I got to spin my legs around and do this thing. And it's so intimidating and it's so intense. And I had, I think, probably the journey of what a lot of clients feel like. So I started in the back corner and then no adult human wants to do something where all the other adults look like they know what they're doing. It's just, our rooms are totally dark. And so, start in the back corner. And then I remember the first time too, it was like the tears were shooting out of my eyes, like a cartoon character, because the lights go out and you just feel anonymous and you have no responsibility in those moments. Like, oh my God, I can't do it. Your legs are turning around. And then you move in and then you go to the middle row and then you move in and finally get to the front row. And the geography of the specific studio and where I was isn't actually that important. It's more so just building up this confidence and having this outlet that I was forced to have. So I know a lot of times when you have a baby, it's really hard to find time to do anything. Mm-hmm. And I feel very lucky that I was forced to integrate a release into my life. And so for me, Burn Cycle, and I think for most of the working moms and moms that I talk to, it is such a release. It's such a, like, take your armor off, put the list down. And I'm so grateful that I was able to have that right out of the gates, because I think it was huge in shaping how we created the culture of Burn Cycle, and that it was so much more than physical. And it was so much more than just, we're going to do this for calories or, because we're going to look a certain way. It was really about mental health and mental stability and mental clarity and just hitting pause for a moment. Because I think when you become a mom and then I had become a business owner at the same time, there's just that train is not stopping. That is like a bullet train. And it's you wake up mid conversation, right? And you're like, did I text that woman back? I don't know. And so you're just always worried. Did I get shots? I don't know. Are they allergic to milk? Whatever, everything.
The running list of things.
And so just to be able to hit pause and have that forced integration of that, I'm so grateful, because now when I don't have that, it is so clear what I need that I can course correct really quickly. And then we just kept opening studios and kept having babies. Again, I don't suggest this as a business strategy, but it's just the way that it worked out. So now we have 4 studios and 3 babies. So we're done with babies and studios.
It's so cool. And I think, it really is true. When you're there, I go to Burn Cycle, and when I'm there, it's like I'm immersed in this environment that I'm reminded by the instructors that I'm not supposed to, but I can choose to not think about the things that are outside of the room. And because it is hard and I feel vulnerable, it like places me in this position where like I can't think about the other things.
Yeah, it's essentially, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to get too technical about exercise, but when your body goes into fight or flight, you're not using your prefrontal cortex, which is what makes us all worry and try to plan, right? I stress out so much, and there has yet to have ever been a spinning emergency, but I am ready if it comes, right? It's so unnecessary. Yeah. But when your body is in fight or flight, which is what high intensity interval training does, your prefrontal cortex shuts down and you're just working with sort of the seat of your soul, we call it. And so it's kind of like I joke, if you're running from the cops and someone yells, turn right, you're going to turn right. Yeah. So you sort of peel back all these layers where you can actually absorb what the instructors are saying, and but what we say is going to go, in one ear and out the other. But the fact that you're coupling it with really physically challenging yourself, because, we don't come over and turn the tension up. That's all you guys. And so there's this really amazing confluence of being inspired to, show up for yourself in ways you didn't think you could. And then you're actually literally doing it in real time. And so then in 45 minutes, you're like, oh, I am a goddess. I am all that is women right now. You're like a savage in there. And then you go back out to your car that you bought based on a safety rating.
Yeah, you put on your pretty dress and go.
Exactly. 3 car seats and just covered in Chex Mix. But in that room, I can do anything. So so there's science behind it, but it is pretty. I think we've also, again, because of my unique experience, we do not for 1 second take for granted 45 minutes that someone's going to take us. So
totally.
So I felt it. I lived it. So
Dr. Ken Ginsburg, who does a lot of stuff on resilience in teens, he talks a ton about like instant vacations for your mind. And I think about Burn Cycle as this like 45-minute instant vacation. Yes. I mean, it's not instant, like I'm not sipping a pina colada, but at all. But like, I don't do that well. Yeah. So this is like the instant vacation that I feel like is actually useful because like you said, it helps you get to those like deeper levels. I mean, I have sobbed through Burn Cycle classes. I have
Me too.
screamed and like raised the roof and Beyonce'd my way through Burn Cycle classes, right? Just depending on like what my body and my brain need at the moment. I want to talk about community too, because I know that you've had a special focus on new moms because of your experience. How do you feel like Burn Cycle builds community with the participants? Like, how do people come together in Burn Cycle? Because it's a very individual thing. It's in the dark.
It is. I think, a huge thing for us, I can get really granular on it, but when you're in that room, there's, 44 or 50 people, and we're all doing the same thing at the same time because we do it to the beat of the music. And it's sort of this collective consciousness that you get swept up in. But because it's dark, you don't have to worry about the person next to you. You don't have to, like I said earlier, you can kind of take your armor off and just really be there with your whole heart, which is, as soon as the lights go on, everybody tenses back up, whether it's figuratively or
you probably see that from the front of the room.
All of a sudden, you're like, oh, you guys, we're all still the same people. But I think there is a humbling kind of element that happens with Burn Cycle because it is so challenging that we've all experienced it together. Like we made it through. So at the end, you have an endorphin high that I would love to say is just totally unique to me, but that's just exercise. But we've all we made it through this thing. We accomplished this thing together. We did it. And so there's this sort of sense of union in that. There's just a sense of camaraderie that happens. And I think too, we have a deep, genuine love of humans before our love of fitness. So our mission statement as a company is connection is what we do. Movement's just the language we speak.
Oh, that's so cool.
So that's what we're all about. So whether it would have been underwater biking or I don't even know what the new trends are, right? Like aerial yoga,
sure.
Maybe not my pace, but it could have been a multitude of things. But I think that what Burn Cycle is and always has been and will always be about is just humans and people. And so with that being the foundation and the seed, the roots that everything grew from, every single person on our team knows that that's what we value. And it's that's the most important thing. And so then that trickles down. You come into a space, you can just feel it. You can feel it. Everyone's going to say hi to you. No one's, there's not a hierarchy of who rides more or who does this. And I think it's wonderful because so many people feel like they can let down their guard in there because the instructors just do such a good job of being real. Yeah. We are just adamant about not wanting really fit, people demonstrating fitness. We want real humans up there that give the rest of us permission to be real and raw and vulnerable because you're panting like a cart horse, right? Because you drank a bottle of wine on a Monday night because everyone was crying. Like I was crying. Everyone was crying. Literally the only person not crying was the dog. Yeah. So that's okay. No judgment. And so I think it just creates a space, it's kind of like when you walk in to grandma's house and you're like, I'm not going to change my pants for I'm going to wear sweats for 3 days, whatever it is. That's what I do at my grandma's. But, it's all about creating the energy in the space. And I'm very grateful that we have a team that really values meeting new people and connecting with new people and then watching those other connections happen. And so people will just strike up conversations in the lobby. It's wonderful. And so I wish I could put that into more context, but I think it's just it's fertile soil for conversation. And anytime anybody finds out that someone just had a baby, there will be 10 women be like, oh my God, how are you doing? How are the lady parts?
Yes.
We just go right for it. There's just I love it. And when I had my babies or the first one, the nurses or whatever, the midwives, they're like, here's some moms groups. And I was like, I don't probably have time for that. But, so it looks really lovely. And I would really love to meet other mothers. And then my baby was at Burn Cycle all the time. And it was amazing. The tenderness that these women showed me right away. And so that was amazing. I think something else too, that someone had said to me, which I take as a huge compliment, is that there's a little bit of a sense of the matriarch. I'm kind of the matriarch of Burn Cycle. I don't ever consider myself a CEO or I'm the boss or anything like that. But I think there's a certain power in the way matriarchs care for their families and their people. And so it's a interesting way to put it.
You kind of shelter people.
Because I'm always like, oh my God, okay, I'll get you a book. I have a great book for that. Or this or that, and then they turn around and do it to each other. And it's just we're all kind of raising each other and helping each other and bear hugging each other. And then again, we get in that room and throw on DMX and scream our faces off.
Totally.
Because we used to be cool.
That's right. That's right. No, there is some of that. Totally. I'm going back to my 19-year-old self.
I was in my prime during this song, right?
I used to crush it. Bonnie and Clyde 03, Bonnie and Clyde. Yes, it's on. No, I think there's a lot of value in that. And for people even who aren't in an area where Burn Cycle exists or this type of thing exists, I think something powerful you said is just basically throwing off this idea that meeting other moms or dads or whatever, other parents has to be in a circle, singing Kumbaya, staring at someone's face with your baby there. I went to one Mommy Me class. My baby was colicky.
Yes, great.
I was a pediatrician. Other people in the room knew me from the community. It was the worst experience of my entire life. My baby's sobbing the entire time. I started sobbing in the middle of the Mommy Me class. And I was like, never again. So I totally chose things like Hike It Baby, where you could go.
Yeah, I love Hike It Baby.
Yeah, where you could go in the woods and walk with someone and do parallel communication. You're doing an activity. Or I chose just finding other people from a music class or from some other thing. So I think that even if you're not in a Burn Cycle situation, just for listeners, where they don't have Burn Cycle in your location, just taking ownership or taking a step back to say, what is the thing that actually would work for me to connect with other people, even if it's less traditional?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's 2020. You can find like a mom's group that likes polishing gemstones while riding unicycles, right? It's 2020. We can all do this. It just takes a little more effort. And so I think if anyone doesn't need to talk to moms about effort, right? It's like, we get effort, we got it, but it's interesting. Yeah, I think
Hey, Mama. When I think about the times I have felt the most overwhelmed or discouraged as a mom, they all share one common theme. In all of them, I felt directionless or like I was headed in the wrong direction even. So as I dove into what could make it better for myself or for my family or just for life in general, I started thinking every day about how I was actually going to move toward where I wanted to be in 6 core areas: my dreams, spending time on what matters, making space for myself, taking care of my mental and physical health, parenting in partnership, and being really purposeful about understanding who my kids are, what their needs are, and how I can best parent them as individuals. And after a while, I realized I had something I could come back to when I felt rudderless, but also that I felt lost less often. So I started writing down for the Modern Mommy Doc community more about these 6 core areas. And that's how the Parenting with Intention journal came to be. Because as I shared what I learned about intentional parenting with other mamas in my clinic or online, it resonated with them. We designed the Parenting with Intention journal to be quarterly, so you could start fresh every 3 months and be able to look back on the year in chunks and see your progress. If you're feeling like you could use some more intention in your motherhood journey, you can check it out at modernmommydoc.com/shop. You can make your own journal with a notebook or even lined paper. You don't have to buy anything to do this. Above all, I hope you'll take at least 5 minutes a day to stop, slow it down, and really get intentional about what your motherhood journey is all about. So you're a busy lady, speaking of like effort, and you just went on this really long, like, I want to say spiritual journey, but like that says maybe too much, but like this big adventure for yourself mentally. Can you tell people about that? Because I think it'd be really powerful for people to think about just how to reframe their experience in their lives as mothers.
Yeah. So I started my business in 2013. We opened 5 studios in 5 years. We grew over 1,000%. And in the same 5 years, I had 3 children. And so it was a train wreck. It was an absolute train wreck. It was like, just put my head down, because I'll work. I will work. Like, if you need to move, just call me. Like, oh, this sounds fun. And I just had sort of a implosion. I got so sick and tired of constantly feeling this like constant level of strenuousness in my life that didn't need to be there. Like I said earlier, I'm always planning, trying to prepare and do all this stuff so nothing falls through the cracks. And my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and it was just awful because moms need your moms. There's just, it was just such a blow to me. And I took it worse than she did.
Yeah. I understand that.
And was, so dramatic about it. And it just leveled me. And I would go see her all the time, as much as I could, when she was getting chemo. And I came in and I'm really stressed out, super stressed out about something. And my mom just looks at me and goes, just drop the struggle. And I was like, what? And she says this to me as she's getting like pumped full of chemo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't have to yell at me, Kathy. She said, just drop the struggle. Like, just drop it. I mean, oh no, I have to brush my teeth every day. I have to brush my teeth twice a day, every day for the rest of my life. Oh my God, how am I going to have time to do this? How am I going to? And I was like schooled by Kathy in the chemo lounge. And it was such a wake up call, because here's this woman who's, her and my father have been entrepreneurs. They're 69 years old and they just started their 7th company.
Wow.
And they're tried and true, like boots on the ground entrepreneurs. So they know work and hustle. And then here she is doing this on top of all of it, and being grounded enough and settled enough to exactly use your words to zoom out for a minute and just drop the struggle. And it hit me. And then my dad chimes in, and they're like the best duo. And he's like, hey kid, it's never the load that'll break you, but it's how you carry it. And I was like, oof.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I wrote both of those things down. And I think a lot of us ladies, if I'm going to speak generally moms, especially working moms, we're just martyrs, right? It's just all about martyrdom.
Yeah.
We're just going to push through. We're just going to push through.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's where I was. And I was waiting for my husband to tell me, like, I need him to witness my effort loading the dishwasher. Like, it got to a point where I needed, like, every single thing I was doing, I needed validation for. I just was just a total loss of self-respect because it was stretched in every different direction and trying to please every different person and not trying to make any mistakes and trying to stay up on everything. I mean, this is how privileged and burnt out I was. I forgot to get our third kid vaccinated, and we're not anti-vaxxers. Yeah. I just forgot.
Yeah.
And that just shows my privilege right there. So
right.
Yeah, we're good.
Right.
But I'm like, I go to put him in preschool and they're like, he was never, oh my God. Anyways, roundabout, bring it back to, I think I was waiting for something to change. I was waiting just for whatever society's tiara, right? Or just waiting for somebody else to do something, or the apologies you're never going to get, or whatever it is that just keep you in these loops and tired. It's like when you just get tired of something, you're just so to the point, and not the kind of frustration where your kid's giving you attitude. I mean, where you are on a deep level, you're like, my life needs to change because this is not how it's supposed to be. And this is not how I want to live. And I decided to make an entire year, all of 2019, just entirely about self-work and self-care. And I'm not a big, like, mani-pedi person. That's not for me. But what I mean by that is I decided to put 365 days into sort of this framework of, I was going to do a couple things every week. I was going to do a couple things every single day. Basically, I set a goal of having one word. I decided to pick one word. I asked myself, what am I craving? What do I need? And I wrote all this stuff down and kind of distilled it all down into one word. And it came down to worthy, which, as someone who's won all these ridiculous awards for business, and you look at this.
Yeah, you're big time.
But I guess I've never questioned my ability to work for something, but never felt confident or worthy to receive it when I got there. So I'm a very grateful person, but it's always gratitude, but waiting for the other shoe to drop because I don't deserve this life.
Yeah. Oh, I so feel that.
You know, and where you're like, but I got to keep going, or it's going to get taken away, or something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I distilled it all down and got down to this one word of worthy, which I think resonates with a lot of women, of worthiness of asking your partner to take the kids so that you can complete projects. You are absolutely worth saying, I'm going to find time to exercise and you can figure the meal out, or like, it's okay if the house is messy because my mental state is worth more than a clean house. And so every single day for 365 days, I wrote down 3 things too. I wrote down what energizes me, what I'm grateful for, and what's not working. And it was basically, I kind of data mined my own psyche, if you will, because then all of a sudden you start to see patterns. Yeah. And you're like, oh, what I'm grateful for is actually time alone. Oh. So if I just go to the grocery store, but I'm not rushed, I am loving this. Oh my God, look at all these bitters options. We live in Portland. So there's like an aisle of bitters. But,
at the regular grocery store.
Yeah, exactly. But it was so interesting. And then you start to gravitate towards the things that energize you. And then it becomes very clear when something is not energizing you. And it's these 3 simple things that aren't like setting, it's not like hustle. It's sort of this confluence of, well, what do I need to change? But also, what am I grateful for right now? So there's this confluence of contentment, but what's not working, and I'm the one that has to change it. And so I started seeing the same patterns with certain relationships and started seeing the same patterns with work things, but they would show up in different situations and circumstances. And it was a fascinating experience to do it. I just started course correcting and making changes as needed. I went to therapy twice a week, every week for 365 days.
Love therapy.
Even though all the therapy is right, all of it, man. I mean, even if it was, I'm so frantic, I'm so stressed out, whatever it was, I would just go and then you always feel better afterwards. And I made a point to always figure out how to exercise. Again, it's a huge part of what I need, but I think it's a release for a lot of people. And you do generally get an endorphin high from it. So it was so fascinating because I think it requires space to self-analyze. It requires a certain level of sacrifice because things are going to get messy. And you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know I had that blind spot.
Totally.
Wow, I am definitely just blaming you for this because I don't feel secure in my whatever, you're just like, ooh, that is uncomfortable.
I see this more clearly and I actually don't like it.
Yes. But it was, self-analysis and self-reflection and just it's work, but it's the kind of work I want to be doing now that I've done it, now that I'm on the other side of it, because it made me so acutely aware of how in control of my own happiness I am and how in control of my own stress I am.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, wait, I could have been doing this the whole time. But again, I think there's probably like a tipping point that we kind of reach, but it was the most transformative year of my life.
Wow.
And I wasn't as productive as I probably could have been at work. I kept telling myself that's okay because I'm not a whole human right now.
Yeah.
And you start to uncover, the cracks and the brokenness and the insecurities and the trauma and the damage. I'm not trying to use buzzwords, but everyone's got ish.
Everything. Yeah. And I think it's like, what's the point? If you're not a whole person at the end of the day, and you don't have like contentment, or again, to use like a woo-woo term, like joy at the end of the day, like, then what was all this for? Why did we put in all the work? Why are we doing it? I am a big believer, lots of people for finance stuff talk about like, just don't have like a latte a day or like put like $5 a day away or blah, 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 blah. I am a big believer in like, it's more than that when it comes to finances and when it comes to your life. Like, it's not enough to be like, I'm going to spend 5 minutes a day, like being mindful for myself. To me, it's about like, when you look at your life, are you happy with the way that you're spending your time? What are the things that are not serving you well? And what things do you really crave? Like you said, like my word is freedom.
Yes.
Like, give me freedom.
Braveheart. Just Braveheart, girl. I'm slow clapping you. I'm in your corner for this.
And the freedom could be, like you said, at the freaking grocery store by myself looking at fancy napkins.
Whatever I want to. I'm going to smell every single one of these candles because I have the freedom to do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, so as an encouragement, I think for moms who are listening to this, like, I don't think it has to mean that like you quit your job or that you no longer show up like to do some of the tasks for your family. I think it's looking at your overall life and deciding like, am I going to let things happen to me, or am I going to be the person who like takes control of the things that I can take control of? Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot reiterate enough the term. It's not the load that'll break you. It's how you're carrying it. I'm like, oh my God, you just come at me. We've got this. Moms can handle it, but there's so much else going on mentally for moms, emotionally. Like, let's not forget that we're hugely emotional beings and that we feel things that our partners just don't as women and mothers. Yeah. And so you carry, I don't want to say a burden because they're precious little angels that we all love and they don't lie or bite or hit. It's fine. But it is yesterday. Right. It's not burden is not the right term I'm looking for, but it's a weight that you carry that our partners, they do, but not to the extent that the maternal connection and being a more emotional beings, you carry that. So you've got to make space then is you can't keep doing things the way that you were. And as they get older, my sister just had a baby. I deeply love my sister and we are total opposites. She's like the fanciest lady. During I got to help her deliver her baby and it was amazing. And she's an interior designer. Everything's like beautiful.
Oh, yeah. She's fancy.
She's just like rose colored glasses. She's like my favorite human. And she would never complain. She's like, oh my gosh, I don't know, about this and that. And it's so fun to watch her go through the baby phase. And now my kids are 2, 3, and 6. And we ran into one of our mutual girlfriends who has teenagers. And we were just talking about, the baby stage and then the kind of toddler and
older slightly.
And she said, ooh, little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. My kid got his license today and backed right into a Tesla. And I was like, okay. And so we've like taken that in and we're like, what? These are little problems. This is good. We can handle it right now. But
I think what you're saying is that even if we have little problems and little kids, that the weight is still heavy on us.
Yeah.
And that like it feels heavy in the moment, but that we can decide if we're going to like martyr our way through it or if we're going to be like, no, I'm going to choose how I live my life. Yeah, I got to take care of some of these things, but I'm not going to let that weight own me. I think that's what you're talking about.
It just things become so precious. You
Yeah.
know, like everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be,
Yeah.
and I say that as a recovering person it just gets so precious, right? Or like things get so loaded with your partner because you guys aren't connecting. Like my husband and I just run real-time logistics all the time and we'll go 2 days. I don't think we've made eye contact. Just so much that changes in your body physiologically and I think mentally when you have a kid, but you're just supposed to go back to work and you're supposed to go back to the way you've always done it.
Right.
And it's essentially remapping your life course to hold enough space in your heart to love these little humans and to love the life that you're creating. But in order to even think about doing that, what I've learned is, and it sounds so cliche, but that you have to have your whole heart taken care of.
Totally.
And so it just, this past year was all about that. And I can honestly say that in 1 year's time of focusing on myself, 1 year's time of paying attention to what worked and what didn't, and course correcting and saying, I'm going to change this. What can I change about this? You know, I don't need to value being in groups of women. I want to just have depth with my very closest friends or these things, you know, like these little things that you don't really realize until you're looking every day and you're like, oh, wait, that's not. And then to get to the end of it and look back and have this year be just full of amazing tiny inner miracles that nobody felt or saw about me, but it was real-time observations in the moment where normally I would have spun out or freaked out or let it eat me alive or just like beat myself up. In that moment, I stopped. I was like, oh my God, okay, we're doing this. I'm okay. And I'm going to move on. I'm gonna make a chicken pot pie right now. I've never made that in my life, but that's how confident I felt in those moments. And that is honestly, it's a feeling I've never felt and I'm just addicted to it. And I get it now. And
you're sharing the gospel of it. I love it. The other day I heard you say in class, and we'll like close with this because I think it's like the most powerful thing. You're like, you don't need everybody else to like you. Why are you living your life so that everyone else will be like cool with what you're doing and happy with you and like everybody likes you? You need you to like you. And if you like you, then you can like conquer the world. Like you're going for it. And that resonated so much with me. And I think that coming back to Burn Cycle, like I think that is the value of these like deep experiences, no matter how you get it, mamas, like, I don't care, at a Burn Cycle-esque thing, at wherever else that it strips away the layers and you get to actually come back to yourself. Mm-hmm. That's what we talk about at Modern Mommy Doc, about like making space for yourself, because that's where you actually like deal with the real stuff. Will you tell listeners where to find you? Like on the web, in Portland?
Yeah, I was like my
Pacific Northwest. Don't share that.
Yes, I'm on the gram. It's at Mrs. Duley, Duley. And Burn Cycle is, our website's burn-cycle.com. And we're in Portland and Lake Oswego. And we're also in Seattle, Capitol Hill, and Ballard. And so love to meet any mamas. Come to mama. All the mamas. I love them. I love them.
Oh, so, I love it. Thank you
so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. Hey. If you loved this episode, make sure to subscribe to the Modern Mommy Doc podcast so you're automatically notified every time we have powerful information, inspiration, and amazing guests to share with you. We would also be so honored if you shared the Modern Mommy Doc podcast with your friends by snapping a screenshot of this episode and posting it with hashtag Modern Mommy Doc so we can spread the word and help more mamas win at parenting without losing themselves. Thanks for being part of our community.